Hello and welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you being here with me again. And if you just found me, then welcome. And if you would please don't forget to like and subscribe and also comment, as all this helps my channel to grow. So let's begin. In today's video, I will be sharing with you how I shrunk down, or let's say recreated, a real life size art studio down into 1/12th scale version. And although it's not a full tutorial, I will be explaining how I did a few things along the way. Now stay tuned to the end so you can see the video montage of the finished project. I hope you enjoy this shrunken down art studio, so let's begin. I started off by building a 12-inch by 12-inch square box out of plywood. I connected all four sides, leaving off the top for later because one, it's easier to work in a room box when you don't have the top on, and also there was something else I wanted to do that was a little different, which you'll see later on. In each of the walls, I used a thin foam board to create my interior walls. By using the foam board, it allowed me to create textures and block wall patterns that I needed for this build, and also any flexibility to do whatever else later on. And for example, the back foam wall is actually set forward about 2 inches away from the wood wall, and this allows for a cavity to hide electric lights and wires. In this photo, you are seeing the actual block window that is in the real life studio, and I had to recreate this myself. In order to do that, I had to draw out the rectangle shape needed and cut it out with a blade. I made the blocks with hard resin, created in a mold that was a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, and this allowed for the right size blocks to use. I've used this technique in the past, and it's just a really good way to make block windows or ice or anything like that with the hard resin. What we are seeing here in this picture that I took are the original stained glass windows that were also in the studio, and of course I wanted to replicate those as well within my miniature build. So in order to do that, I traced out the photo on a piece of paper, then placing a clear plastic sheet over the design, I used puffy paint to outline the lines that I had drawn. And when I let all that dry, I then went back with clear glue that I had added a little bit of glass paint to give it some texture and the colors needed to finish off the stained glass effect. The artist desk seen here in this photo, as you can see, is in more of an industrial style desk. And the best way that I felt for me to achieve this look is just to build a wood desk as I normally would build a piece of furniture, and then get the industrial look by the way that I painted it, which is what I ended up doing. So I built it from wood, and then I painted it in silver and high gloss black to give it more that industrial feel. I even added the little cubbies off on the right hand side on the top for all the art supplies. For the artist chair, I did a swivel chair, and I started with a screw, which I fit down into a plastic base, and then I covered the top with a square piece of rubber that would later hold the seat on. The chair legs were molded out of clay, and once hardened, I painted them a shiny black. The seat cushion and the seat back were created using cardboard, sponge, and the fabric of choice to cover. And yes, I glued it down and hung the clips off of each edge to give it a sharp edge as it dried. For the chair arms, I made them out of wire and pieces of rubber for the top. The chair ended up turning out really cute, and although it doesn't swivel, it looks as if it would. Going back a little bit to the beginning of the build when I was still working on the walls, it was at this point that I added cabinets and bookshelves, and also a window sill under the block window. And beneath that, the artist had a counter space, which I added as well. The original art studio didn't have as many shelves or cabinets as I put in, so I did take some liberties in giving her more storage space. I painted the block walls and all cabinets white because that is the color they were in the actual studio. I will admit at this point that I did take a few other creative liberties, especially when designing the space and also in some of the finished details to the studio. but I tried to stay as true as I could. One of these liberties was to add to the studio a sewing desk. In real life, the artist sewing desk was always in a different room, but for this build, I wanted to combine all of her talents into one space. So I made this table, and although I did make it an extension work pull-out area, I decided I also wanted to add a drawer so that it could be open to display some of the little items. I have this space in the front here in which to add it. So first I built a little drawer to fit within the space. I painted to match, and then I carefully carved into this finished front area an opening for the drawer to fit into. I also had to create a piece of wood to fit in around and behind so that the drawer would have something to connect to. It ended up working out really well, and even though it was an afterthought and a little bit of a change, which I'm famous for often doing in one of my projects, I'm very happy with the little drawer, and I think it was definitely worth the effort in doing. One other little thing that I had fun making for this project was a Yankee candle like the one pictured here. They're very realistic, and you can make them with a colored clay in little jars of glass like these. And I've done this in the past by putting the clay in, adding a string for a wick, putting on a label, and calling it a day. But for my mini Yankee candle, I wanted it to flicker as a real candle and therefore couldn't use the little jars. So what I did was I used clear tubing like the ones you find for aquariums and fountains. I cut it to size, and then using a clay mixture, I smushed it down inside. The paint and clay mixture that I mixed for this project was a yellowy base because I wanted a citrus scent. I pushed up the LED up through the clay mixture and then wiped off the top because it gets a little messy. After it completely dried, I then put the wire down through the table. I had a Yankee candle label that I printed out, and I gave it a decorative top, and now it flickers onto the desktop. The wires are hidden down and into the back of that cavity that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. These little candles are very cute to do, and they're not that hard, and you should try one for your room box or your dollhouse. One of the most important aspects of this build, and definitely the most fun, was in recreating in this art studio replicas of the original artwork created by the artist. All around the room there are miniature examples of her actual work, from the watercolor in progress on the art desk, to sketches in the sketchbook, to pieces adorning the walls, windowsills, shelves above the sewing table, and even the items stored within the wood storage rack on the floor. They are all minis of her work. Some of these pieces are for private collection. Some have been showcased in art galleries around the country. Some displayed in art shows and festivals for sale. I also could not forget tiny replicas of the books that are also tucked around in her studio, because as I stated earlier when mentioning her many talents, this artist is also a published author and illustrator. I hope at the end of this video, when you're watching the photo montage, that you're able to pick out these pieces of art in the books. What is this little creation, you might ask? Well, what you see me attempting to make here is a replica of a Howdy Doody puppet on string doll that the artist had hanging on the wall, and it was something from her childhood. I thought it would be a cute little addition to her studio since she had one. He was very hard to make. It was pretty tiny. I'm not the best with clay. Howdy Doody has big ears, so this little guy had to have big ears. Once I got him painted and I got his strings on and I hung him up, he really did look a lot better than I thought he was going to. It was just a really cute little addition to the realism of what she had in her studio, so I'm glad I made him. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I mentioned saving the top piece of wood for last. Well, because I didn't want it to be a solid box, I had the idea of cutting a semicircle into the wood. To do that, I had to do a little bit of simple math, and then I measured and created a pattern, and then using a jigsaw cut the shape out of the plywood. Then I used some glue and wall compound mixture to create the texture of the ceiling. I had several lighting elements within this build. The main lights were strip LEDs, which I laid into a track that I created just behind the opening, and the other sits behind the block walls, with this blue line showing approximately where the back wall is to the cavity. I glued down and clamped the wires until dry. The main rows of LEDs light up the interior, and the lights behind the block window adds to the illusion of daylight coming through. I also have the flickering LED light for the candle that I made, and another LED inside of a gooseneck lamp that I made that sits on the art desk. Because I did not capture on video or photos the process of connecting my LED wires to an electrical source, I thought I would draw out this little simplified diagram to show you what was done. So in this illustration, I'm showing you the outer back wall of the room box to the left, the inner room box scene where the lights are displayed on the right, and the cavity space in between that I had also mentioned at the beginning of the video that I created for this very purpose. It is within this cavity space where all those wires ran into and also where they were connected in order to achieve this conversion. We have to use an electrical supply converter which converts 120 VAC to 9 VDC. This reference photo of the jack plug is actually the one that was used in this project. With these connectors, you have the plug, which is the male connector, and it inserts into the jack plug, which is the female connector. You see me drawing the female jack plug here with the connectors facing inside of the cavity, and then the outer part, you will have your male part of the plug, which is plugged into the female on one end, and then the other end is the electrical cord, which plugs into the outlet, like this example. I designed it this way so that the owner of the art studio could plug or unplug the room box as needed by disconnecting the female and male jack plugs from each other. The wires for the LED lights that I mentioned were in the cavity, but for this reference, I just kind of have them over here on the right. There were 4 of them, so that means each one had a positive and a negative. So all the positives needed to be put together and soldered. All the negative wires were put together and soldered, leaving then 1 positive and 1 negative, which was then attached to the female jack plug through those little connectors that are on one end of it. And that was all done inside the cavity wall. Hopefully this little diagram gives you an idea of how it was all made. I know it's a little simplified, but really it wasn't all that difficult. And since my husband is an electrical engineer, he has earned the title as a mini electrical advisor for my projects, and I am learning so much. I didn't like the raw edge of the plywood, so I went along the edges with strips of cardstock to give it a cohesive finish. And as you can see in these images as well, I created an illusion of a ceiling by laying flat bamboo sticks across the entire top so you could still see through it. The real artist studio had beams on its ceiling, so I felt by doing this it gave me that beam vibe as well. I painted the top, the edges, and the entire outside of the studio a dark green. I'd never done a room scene with this sort of semi-opening effect like this, but I really did like the way it worked out, and I will definitely be using it again in future projects. There are so many fun and exciting and tiny items within this build, I could not possibly point them all out. But I did want to give you a little bit of a challenge with these particular items. Some finished, and some of these photos are during the process of the actual creating. Hopefully, in the video montage of the videos, you will be able to find them all and see all the other mini details that I had fun recreating and shrinking down from the life-size studio to this miniature version. Now let me turn on my shrinking machine and get you your tour of inside the studio and have a good look around. Hope you enjoy. Transporting back to life size. And thank you for joining me today on my channel. And I hope you enjoyed my shrunken miniature art studio box room created for the talented artist at Art and Books Studios. I will link her information in the description below. Feel free to check out her website, her Instagram, to see her art, read her blog, and you can even purchase one of her wonderful creations. I hope you will join me again, and until you do, please check out my other videos. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you next time.